Today's episode is brought to you by the Whole Life Decluttering Workshop, featuring a proprietary 6-step system, the Simple System, to help you declutter your life in a way that will last. Purchase this workshop on demand and receive the video training and dedicated workbook at positivelyproductive.com/resources. The common factor, or fix, if you will, is understanding our own unique needs in order for us to be productive, which requires both self-understanding and self-compassion. We need to know what we need, and we need to be okay with it. One of my favorite sayings I have with my friends is, we like what we like, okay? And in this case, for productivity, we need what we need. Let's find it, get it, and we are going to achieve so much from there. You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zaratny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a productivity coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. Join me as we explore ways to live a more proactive, positive life with episodes on productivity, self-awareness, mindset, entrepreneur life, habits and systems, simplicity, fun, and more. I understand overwhelm personally as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and as a caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and the reason I do what I do as a coach and a podcaster is because I want to help people be more productive in a positive, healthy, sustainable way. Being productive is a common goal, and we don't question it, but let's consider the benefits so we understand why so much effort is placed on it. We generally seek productivity to make progress toward our goals and feel a sense of accomplishment, and this is important for life satisfaction. But being productive also helps us reduce stress and have more time for the things we truly enjoy, which again leads to more life satisfaction. And all of these are great reasons to be more productive. The problem comes when we fall into traps in our attempts to be productive. Those might look like rigid schedules that don't account for our fluctuating energy levels, or the perception that we must be doing something at all times. And that's when we end up busy versus productive, which is one of the worst traps. We try so many recommendations others give us, and when they don't work, it triggers guilt and shame. We also try to force ourselves to work in environments or at times that simply aren't conducive to our focus needs because we assume we need to work like everyone else, or we're embarrassed to admit that our unique needs are so different from the standard suggestions. And I'm not making any of these up. These are real challenges my clients have experienced, and many of which I have too. The common factor, or fix, if you will, is understanding our own unique needs in order for us to be productive, which requires both self-understanding and self-compassion. We need to know what we need, and we need to be okay with it. One of my favorite sayings I have with my friends is, we like what we like, okay? And in this case, for productivity, we need what we need. Let's find it, get it, and we are going to achieve so much from there. So often we get caught up in how we think we're supposed to, there's the air quotes, approach productivity, and we compare ourselves to others, their routines, their outputs, and then we feel like we're falling short. It's time to let go of all of that. This is especially true, this challenge, for my people, the ones who really need to take a different approach to productivity. Creatives might see another artist's prolific output and feel inadequate by that. Caregivers might struggle to find any time for themselves, let alone productive time, or feel that any downtime they may be able to grab isn't productive enough. Individuals with chronic illnesses may have unpredictable energy levels and feel guilty or frustrated on low energy days. And my ADHD people, all those with neurodiverse minds, they simply don't fit into conventional productivity models. And I'm so grateful that we're having so many conversations now that are finally starting to honor that idea. There's nothing wrong. It's a wrong fit, really, that we're talking about. So I've said before, and I will repeatedly, productivity isn't one size fits all. It's about finding what works for you. We need to shift our perspective to a more holistic approach, which considers our whole lives and us as whole people, our personalities, our preferences, and how we work best. That's what I do as a coach. Help you figure out all of these things and then what it would look like for you to work your very best. And that means more productivity without necessarily having to do more, doing less, but living more. So part of this conversation and what we're having today is called a flow state. When you can tap into a flow state, it's one of the most productive states out there. And if you can tap into that as a portion of your day, you are going to get much further faster. And I am all for that. So what's a flow state? People don't usually say they're in a flow state. They may say they were in the zone and they got so much done. A flow state is technically a mental state in which you're fully immersed, and it's a feeling of energized, focused, full involvement and enjoyment in the process of the activity. And I think that's such an important point, that you are energized, you're challenged, you're completely involved, and with that, you're enjoying what you're doing. And with that engaged, positive focus comes huge benefits, including increased happiness, better performance, and a real sense of accomplishment. Have you experienced something like that? Time flies, you're completely absorbed in what you're doing, and the work just flows out of you, and you have such a sense of accomplishment when you're done. What's happening scientifically in our brains during a flow state is that our prefrontal cortex, responsible for higher level thinking and self-consciousness, tends to dial down. This allows other areas of the brain to take over, particularly those related to creativity and intuitive thinking. Neurotransmitters, want to get scientific with me? Dopamine, norepinephrine, endorphins, anandamide, serotonin, all of these surge, and they create feelings of pleasure, focus, and actually reduced self-doubt. Oh, what a great mix. And this mix of brain activity and the neurochemicals leads to that feeling of being in the zone. It's almost like a fearlessness, and again, it's energized focus. It's been established that in order to experience a flow state, there needs to be a match between a person's skills and the challenge level of the task or tasks. What I mean is that it has to be just right, because if it's too easy, what you're doing, boredom is more likely than flow state. And if a task is too difficult, it will lead to frustration and stress. So whether it's frustration and stress or it's boredom, these states are incompatible with a flow state. But when you match it right, you become completely absorbed, which means you're less likely to be distracted. It means ignoring the world and even your own thoughts that aren't relevant to the task. Studies have shown that a flow state means lower stress levels and less of what we call self-reflective thinking. And what that translates to is worrying less in those moments. And when you worry less, your mind is much more open to innovating. Studies also indicate certain feelings and perceptions for people in flow, such as a feeling of control, having a clear sense of direction, and also having a condensed perception of time, which is likely why being in the flow means that you have this feeling of time flying. Can you recall a time when you felt like this? Or do you know someone who has been in that kind of state and you've witnessed that? I often think of artists and musicians, but you can see it in sports and crafting and all manner of activities. I have a literal as well as a figurative front row seat to a flow state when my eldest plays guitar and when he performs any kind of music, really. And especially so when he performs, he's in his own musical world, challenging himself and creating on completely new levels. He calls the state being locked in or on lock, and I think that makes so much sense. When you're laser focused, you can build momentum cognitively in ways that you normally wouldn't. Think about the difference between doing a task with distractions and without. Now imagine that task fits you so well that you are not only not distracted, you don't even notice other distractions that come in. What could you accomplish in that state? Now, before we talk about how we get into a flow state, I want to make the distinction between flow versus establishing a habit. Being in a flow state is optimal performance and immersion based. But a habit, like brushing your teeth, is an automatic process, and it doesn't necessarily require deep focus or immersion. Also, there are times when we do something fun and we lose track of time, like playing a video game or hanging out with friends, and it can feel similar to being in flow, but it might lack the challenge and skill-based component that would typically define a flow. That being said, there is potential for fun activities to lead into flow if they involve increased skill and challenge. So it's a matter of fine-tuning the experience depending upon what you want to achieve from it. Today, we're talking about a flow state for being productive, for maximizing your time. But I'm a firm believer in doing the fun things that you lose track of time with simply for stress release and to experience more joy. We all need that. Be sure to download the Positively Productive Toolkit from the resources page of the positivelyproductive.com website if you haven't yet, because there are so many goodies in there, and one of them is the Joy List Workbook. It's a short set of questions that will help you find the things you love and help you include them in your routine for a more satisfying life. That focuses on things that bring you joy. From there, you may find those things that overlap that you can grow into a flow state, things that you want to achieve. For example, things that bring me joy, playing music and performing, just like my eldest. But sometimes I simply play music for fun and for stress release, and other times I challenge myself to perform music and to learn songs, learn harmonies, grow and sing better. And that kind of state and that kind of practice is more of a flow state. So there's like gray areas, but it's really a distinction based on you and what you want to get out of it. But definitely, if you haven't yet, start with the joy list. It's quick. It's fun. One of my clients grabbed a glass of wine and answered the questions and loved actually having this self-reflective moment where she thought about things that she loves, because bottom line is we need more of that in our lives, no matter what, flow state or not. All right, let's dig into how to get into a flow state. So now that you understand what it is, I'm confident you would like to try it. So please keep in mind that this is often part of a personalized discussion I have with clients, and I would ask you so many questions if we were working on this together. But what I'll do today is lay the groundwork here so you can start this assessment on your own. And then if you want to explore it further and you could use some help, I welcome you to book a call with me, and we'll see how I can help you fine-tune this even more. So the concept here is designing your flow state ritual. Based on the answers to the questions or the things to consider that I will be sharing in a moment, I encourage you to design a personalized ritual that gets you into a flow state. To understand what I mean, you may want to listen to episode 242 on a reverse approach to achieving your goals. In it, I share a story about a client and how we used the flow state to achieve her goal of becoming an author. So many people have a book they want to write. Are you one of them? I am. She was one as well, but she had so many things going on in her life, and it was hard to carve out that time. So we used this opportunity to create a dedicated time with boundaries around it to get her into flow state and maximize that time. She's a business owner, a mom, and a creative with ADHD, and that limited time was a challenge to lock in with her mind and to do the work that she wanted to do. But we came up with this plan, selecting a time for the writing, designing a dedicated workspace, and the ritual that she would take to get into the flow state. Her habits, her timing, and her environment all supported her mindset of writing. And it was very successful. You can hear more of the details in episode 242, but spoiler alert, she did, I want to say within 9 months, write that book based on establishing these habits and then also following up with accountability with me. The whole process starts with understanding your most productive state. Think about when you felt like you were in flow before. You can probably pinpoint, even right now, a moment where you're like, oh yeah, that was a flow state. What did it look like? What were you doing? What did you achieve? Success leaves clues. Use what worked before to help you re-enter that same state again and again. And the more that you do it, the better you'll get. Some people find that the more that they practice it, the faster they get too. When and where do you feel most inspired? Think about that. Is it when you're alone and you're in your studio or office, or when you're in nature? Is it with other people because you tend to be more extroverted, or is it in solitude when you're alone with your thoughts? Is it when you're engaging in certain kinds of tasks or achieving something in particular? Think about where you feel most inspired. Track your energy levels through the day. We talk about this a lot in the podcast. We've talked about your ultradian rhythm, which is an internal rhythm that you have. We have your circadian rhythm, which is where you are more and less energized during the day, and understanding those times you can apply yourself better. When you have more energy, that's when you want to try practicing being in a flow state. A flow state is harder to access when you're tired, just like everything else. Where do you focus your best? Do you focus better in certain spaces with noise-canceling headphones so that you hear nothing, or do you need background noise? What does that look like? Where are your favorite places to focus? What have you learned about your focus state? The more that you can apply that information to getting yourself into this most productive state, the better it's going to work for you. You want to set up your best work environment as well. You want to minimize distractions. Even though a flow state is known for helping you tune out distractions, you need to give yourself a fighting chance as you're getting into it. Create a do not disturb sign for family members or office mates, and even for yourself to understand, like you're cueing yourself mentally that you are going into focus time, so you do not want to be disturbed. Use apps to block distracting websites, emails, notifications, set timers. My client, whom I mentioned earlier, used a writing platform offline to avoid repeat notifications during that time, and then she just uploaded what she needed to. You know, despite the fact that technology is so often a hindrance, it's packed with all of these inherent built-in distractions, there are many ways to use it to your advantage as well. So get creative. And as part of setting up your best work environment, you want to make your space appealing too. Just because you're trying to work and trying to be productive doesn't mean your space has to be officey or austere. It can be fun and playful and homey and cozy. Create an environment that's comfortable for you and conducive to work and to rest. So conversely, if you need things streamlined because you get so distracted, then maybe you do want to keep fewer things in your space. That's going to be your choice. If you have chronic pain, for example, you may want to make sure that you not only have ergonomic seating, but also cushy and comfortable, soft and soothing kinds of things around you. If you struggle with migraines, you may want to pay close attention to your lighting and have very specific task lighting that not only helps you see what you do, but is also calming for your eyes. Honoring your needs is so effective for productivity. It's so essential, and I feel like we don't think of that enough. Be sure to check out episodes 241 and 243. It's a set all together. I mentioned 242, and these are the episodes on either side. And they both focus on your environment as it relates to productivity. The first one is how a cozy space can actually make you more productive. And the second is for offices specifically and how to make that space work for you. And if you are a fan of twinkle lights and warm, inviting spaces like I am, you'll love these episodes. Next, you want to be clear on your goals. What I mean by that is when you're trying to get in a flow state, don't let this nebulous purpose sabotage you. I'm going to go work on my book, or I'm going to get administrative stuff done. While you don't have to be overly specific, you do have to have in mind what you want to achieve and what a successful flow state session might look like for you. You get to decide, but decide for sure. Don't let it be so open that you kind of lose the focus. You can be very specific if that helps you, but you can also consider using something like the specific effort for a goal. In the example of my writing client, we opted not to use the goal of writing a particular chapter for a session, but rather working on a specific chapter. Semantics are really important. We allowed for time spent working on elements of the book, the idea that a session was successful if the following things happened. So it's important for you to be able to define that. And you want to challenge yourself just enough. Remember that tasks that are too easy won't get you into flow state. And conversely, ones that are too much will frustrate you potentially and take you out of it as well. If you're going to try something, make sure that it's like a new technique, or maybe use of a new medium or a platform where you do it just enough to keep you engaged and challenged without taking it too far. Those are the things that you need to consider. Start with where you have seen this before, a successful flow state for you, and then think about how you work best in all of these different ways, how you challenge yourself, what you want to accomplish, what your environment looks like. Go through all of these. I highly recommend going back and re-listening to that section, making some notes. You probably have some ideas already. And again, I welcome you to check in with me, book a call. We can have a free consultation call to start, just to let me know where you're thinking of going with this. And in a way, it's like a little bit of free coaching. And I would love to do that for you because flow states are honestly the closest thing to magic in the productivity realm. And I would love to see this happen for you. So as we close, remember that finding your most productive state, like all of these things, is a journey. Start with small, manageable steps. Give yourself flexibility as you practice getting into flow state, and be kind to yourself always. And if that sounds like the same advice for establishing new habits, you would be absolutely right. You start small, you stay flexible, you try things, and you give yourself so much grace and patience as you do. This is about discovering what works for you, and that may take time. So it's not only being patient with yourself, but patient with the process. Make sure that you are tracking what you do, because you will notice a shift, and it may not be as fast as you want it to be. It may not be as much as you want it to be. But if there's progress, and I want you to celebrate that. With anything that we talk about that has to do with personalized productivity, there is no wrong or right way overall. It's what's wrong or right for you. So let's banish the shame and start embracing our unique ways of being productive. As we wrap up another episode of the Positively Living podcast, I want to remind you how grateful I am for you. We're at 265 episodes and celebrating 5 years of the podcast because of you. And I plan to keep going. Are you with me? Great. As always, be sure to check the show notes for links about what we talked about, including the other episodes that I mentioned. And if you want to find out anything related to these topics, go to the podcast page of the positivelyproductive.com website and use the search feature with keywords, or look for playlists that are updated regularly. I also have tons of free resources on the resources page. So in addition to the podcast, there are many workbooks and other resources for you to help you be productive and happy. I look forward to our next time together. And until the next episode, stay positive and go with the flow. Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. If you have feedback or questions, you can find me through the Connect page of the positivelyproductive.com website. And if you're looking for any of the resources mentioned here, from books to products to training and more, go to positivelyproductive.com/resources.